The DS-1 Orbital Battle Station, commonly referred to simply as the Death Star, was the first of its kind in a lot of ways. To construct this technological terror, as Darth Vader would put it, vast time and resources were needed, even more so to do it in secret. At the equator, the battle station was 100 miles in circumference. The Death Star construction began around the breakout of the Clone Wars. Wilhuff Tarkin would eventually be put in charge of overseeing the construction of the project as a whole. A crucial part of the project was the superlaser. The concept of the laser was to be able to destroy an entire planet. Nothing of this magnitude had ever existed in the galaxy, at least not in anyone's living memory. Orson Krennic was put in charge of this crucial sub-project that went under the codename Celestial Power. Krennic was a bureaucrat. He didn't have the brain power to figure out the superlaser himself, so he outsourced the thinking to a crystallography scientist, that's a tough word to say, Galen Erso. It's said Erso was coerced into using Kyber Crystals to achieve the destructive power needed. Given that he was chosen because he was the crystal expert, I'm not sure if he knew that the Kybers could do what was needed but resisted using them, or if he was given guidance on using the crystals and was told to upscale it to achieve the goals. Kyber crystals are a primary component of the Jedi and Sith lightsabers. In ancient times, they were also used to power Sith superweapons. Palpatine would likely know this bit of Sith history and would have loved the idea of being the Sith to resurrect this practice for his own gain. Either way, Erso works with Kyber crystals and is able to magnify their power. Being a smart man, Erso began to question what Project Celestial Power was actually for. He was unaware of the Death Star concept. When he signed on to the project, he thought he was searching for a sustainable energy solution. Compartmentalization was crucial to keep something like the Death Star project hidden from the galaxy, and ideally, to prevent anyone from sabotaging it. Without finishing the project, Erso took his family and fled the Empire. Not an easy feat. Krennic spent years working on Celestial without being able to find anyone to complete Erso's work. With the project stagnating, Krennic feared for his own advancement. Krennic tirelessly searched the galaxy for Erso. He eventually tracked the man to the remote planet Lamu. Krennic had Galen's wife shot in front of him and took the man to complete the project, leaving his daughter stranded on the planet. The Death Star's primary weapon was powered by a massive hypermatter reactor. The energy formed here would be focused through 8 giant Kyber crystals. The power would leave these crystals at 8 different points on the focusing lens. These 8 individual beams would converge on a singular point, building in strength to the desired level before being released as a singular green beam onto the intended target. The power of the weapon could be adjusted to varying levels of devastation. The lowest setting was used to destroy an eighth of Jeddah, and the highest setting was used to completely annihilate Alderaan. Given the uniqueness and raw power of this weapon, an elite few were chosen and given extensive training. If the weapon was handled anything short of perfectly, the reactor could detonate and destroy the entire battle station. The surface of the massive Death Star was filled with hundreds of thousands of different types of cannons. The most common was a square turret that boasted dual cannons, designated the XX-9. The XX-9 cannons were intended for shooting at larger ships, capital grade and above. The Empire primarily thought of defending against a brute force assault rather than the strategic, precise assault the Rebel Alliance would ultimately employ. About 10,000 SB-920 cannons also populated the surface of the battle station. These specialized in tracking smaller, fast-moving targets and could destroy a starfighter in a single blast. In addition to the XX-9s and SB-920s, 100,000 turbo laser batteries were installed, split evenly between heavy and quad cannon. The lethal defenses were backed by ion cannons. These cannons fire ionized particles that would leave ships whole, but disable all electronic systems. Engines, life support, shields, communications, etc. were all vulnerable to this type of attack. The disabled ships could either be captured by one of the many tractor beams that the Death Star boasted, or destroyed by the some 7,000 TIE fighters kept on board and ready. The Death Star was no mere fort. It was fully mobile and had a Class 4 hyperdrive. It could travel through hyperspace like any other craft, though a bit slower, making it more dangerous than even all the weapons would have you believe. At any given time, the Death Star had a crew of roughly 1.2 million. This included operations, Navy and Army personnel, and a number of high-ranking officials. Maintenance worker, tech support, and engineers worked around the clock to keep everything running. Security teams oversaw nearly every corner of the many floors. To say it was a devastating blow for the Empire when the Rebel Alliance took it out would be an understatement. It took about 22 galactic standard years for the Empire to unveil this weapon. Just 4 years later, the Rebel Alliance would face another Death Star, this one incomplete, but still very dangerous. Sources and related information are in the description. Check out this transmission next for more on the Galactic Empire.